Chancellor Rachel Reeves has appeared at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, where she spoke on stage to LBC host Ian Dale on Saturday. Now, given the big news last week was the launch of a new left party, fronted for the time being by Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana, it's no surprise she was asked her view on that development. And this was her answer. Jeremy Corbyn has had 2 chances to be Prime Minister, and I think the country gave their verdict, most recently in 2019, when Labour had its worst result since 1935. If he wants to give it another go, be my guest. I think the voters will have the same reaction. So she's very dismissive. I find this very frustrating, this sort of the way they keep bringing out Labour had its worst result since 1935 in 2019. Now, that is true in terms of seats, right? And seats matter, of course. This is our electoral system. But the way it's used is to sort of say this was the most unpopular sort of Labour Party that should never be resurrected. It should be completely damned. It was absolutely rejected, both morally, strategically. And I think that sort of belies the fact that Labour in 2019 got 32%. Now, in 2010, they got 29%. In 2015, they got 30%, right? So in 2017, they got 40%. That's the election everyone wants to forget. In 2024, which, is when Reeves was Shadow Chancellor, they got 33.7%. So they got 1.5% more than in 2019. So the big difference between 2019 and 2024 was that Labour's votes were very efficiently distributed, right? Labour under Corbyn piled up seats in inner cities, especially in 2019, because it was the Brexit election. And that meant that 32% got very few seats compared to, say, the 30% that Ed Miliband got in 2015. Now, clearly, well done to the Labour Party in 2024 for efficiently spreading their vote. But that's why people call this the sandcastle landslide, right? Because it could very, very easily crumble. And it looks set to crumble because now, guess what? Their votes are spread efficiently, but they've only got 22%, which means they could lose virtually all of their seats. So this idea that getting 32.2% in 2019 is this historic low, which means that Jeremy Corbyn should be banished from sort of politics forever, I don't buy it. I'm not sure she buys it either. YouGov polling as well last week showed that almost 1 in 3 Labour supporters would consider voting for the New Left Party at the next election. If Reeves's answer seems a little complacent to you in light of that, it also did to Ian Dale. He asked if maybe Reeves should take Corbyn more seriously. And this was her response. She says, "It's not being complacent. He tried to destroy my party and he can now go set up his own party. The country has rejected him twice. The bloke's got a big ego. He can have another go, but I think the country will have the same verdict." Well, the country at the moment really hates the Labour Party, and it doesn't like you very much, Rachel Reeves. So if we're going to go by sort of popular opinion, I'm not sure you're going to come out on top. When it came to Labour's own record in office, Reeves was a little less bullish. She admitted there was a possibility voters were fed up with both Labour and the Tories and would turn to reform instead, saying that is the risk, and so our job is to deliver on the promises we made in our manifesto, but also to show when we're making decisions who we're prioritising. That we're always prioritising the ordinary working person on a modest and middle income who have been battered by cost of living challenges the last few years. Ash, I think Labour are going to be incredibly rattled by the new Corbyn Sultana party. It only needs to get 10% to be a serious problem for the Labour Party. I think it will probably get more than that. What do you think their strategy is going to be for trying to sort of beat back this new left alternative?
Call everybody an anti-Semite? Probably. That's the only thing I can really think of them doing. When it comes to Rachel Reeves, Keir Starmer, Morgan McSweeney, obviously, it's like they're a machine built only for a single purpose. So if you've got an electric whisk, you're not going to ask it to, put up your shelves. It can only whisk. And, this is a political project which could only punch left and try and signal credibility along really, really narrow lines. So you see this with Rachel Reeves. What she did was she created a rod for her own back. She said, okay, the OBR gets effectively a form of political veto over any budget that I want, because she made the idea of not listening to or sidelining the OBR such a huge attack line. And the OBR is isn't always right in terms of its forecast, and also has a very narrow way of looking at what the Treasury should and shouldn't be doing, and also said, these are the fiscal rules that I'm going to stick to. And the problem with those fiscal rules is that, one, people aren't confident that you can deliver on the sort of growth promises that she made while sticking to those fiscal rules. But if you then abandon your fiscal rules, which you've made a career-defining feature of your time as Chancellor, well, then the bond markets are going to go crazy. This is a machine which can only punch left and say, we're going to outsource governing and making economic decisions to the OBR. And that's why, instead of actually being able to do something which would be a smart political strategy, which is say everything we do is going to benefit those on, modest to middle incomes, instead you get batshit decisions like, we're going to scrap the winter fuel allowance, which, despite the fact that they've backtracked on it, people are still really, really angry about, because it means that everything you say in terms of, we are going to be a party that delivers for those on modest to middle incomes, they go, well, what about the winter fuel allowance? And they're right to. So I think that even if Corbyn and Sultana did nothing but step on rakes all day, like Sideshow Bob, this Labour government are so weak and so unstrategic that even a particularly incompetent and unsuccessful Corbyn Sultana outfit could do some real damage. It looks like, from the number of sign-ups, which is 600,000 by now, probably more, and that's not the same as paying members. Obviously, that's the way in which you really gauge the appetite for participation. But in terms of an appetite demonstrating interest, this is a party which has no name, which says that, we're gonna let you guys decide the name, right? It's not screaming, okay, we've got a really, really clear political strategy. I mean, right now it's really amorphous and really nebulous. They say that's because they want to do politics differently. Let's see if that's something that's successful. But right now it's really nebulous, and 600,000 people are interested. So I don't think that Rachel Reeves is showing the sufficient amount of seriousness about how Labour are going to navigate this new party. I think what's perhaps more interesting is, if Reeves and or Starmer don't make it to the next election, because they're defenestrated by their own party, how would someone like, I don't know, Angela Rayner, who's been distancing herself from some of the less popular decisions made by Starmer and Reeves, and very much seems to try and present herself as neither fully on board, not fully part of the team, but not so much of a rebel that they can sack her, how she would consider taking on a Corbyn and Sultana party, because I think that's the bit to watch out for.
James Meadway had a interesting piece in Unheard this weekend saying that the only way for Labour to save itself is to go right. And I was like, this seems like a strange argument to be making. But potentially a self-serving argument to be making, because I imagine James Meadway is going to support this new left party. He's saying that what Labour should do is accept that the left is now owned by this new left party. They should go with Wes Streeting, have a kind of Macron movement, and that will guarantee them 20%, because if they try and, I suppose, go for a Rayner-type figure and compete with the Corbyn Sultana party, they'll just lose, because everyone on the left just viscerally hates Labour now. So that their only choice now is to double down on the centrist strategy. Very interesting article. We should get him on to talk about it soon.